Hi, in this video we're going to cover this new metric called returning customers by cohort. It's a metric that several of you have requested and it makes a lot of sense. We historically offer the repurchase rate by cohort, the retention rate by cohort, and it mostly meant that we were looking at the number of customers who ever stayed or left your business or your subscription, or that came back once or twice separately. So this metric is really about understanding what percentage of each cohort it's coming back every month. And coming back means just placing at least one new order. So to understand it, let me take a step back. To get access to this metric, you look at cohorts on the left. If it's not expanded, you just expand it and go under returning customers by cohort. To understand this one, let's go over maybe the number first. So you can toggle this absolute number, and now we're looking at absolute numbers. So absolute numbers here is just the number of customers in each month that at least made one new order, one returning order. A returning order is simply not the first order. So if you look at the first month, it's lower. This pattern is probably unusual because our test data is a little bit unusual, but the first month is normal. It's few customers place 2 orders in the first month, right? If you wanted the total number of customers, it'd really be that first column, the customers. So here there are 148 customers from the May 2020 cohort who placed another order. So those are the returning customers. As usual, it's a cohort view, so customers are placed in the cohort of the first month that they purchased. If I made my first purchase in June 2020, I'm part of the June 2020 cohort, part of the 12,725 customers. And if I made the second purchase already in the first month, I'm also part of the 441. So that's what I mean. The first month is really June. So if I purchased the first time on the 28th of June and then on the 29th, that's a repeat order. If I purchased the first time on the 28th of June and a second time in a week later in July, then I'm in the second month, right? It's not a rolling 30-day, it's really just calendar month. So the way you read this is how many customers came back that other month and then that third month. This is not a cumulative number. These are individual customers each time. So this is not a metric you can easily aggregate, and that's why we don't have the group option here. And that's how you read it. So let's take an example of a September 2020 cohort. We have, or I wanted to show something else. Let's see. I have this example here. In April, we had 205 customers in the 6th month who came back. And then we have fewer in the 7th month, which makes sense. Usually these numbers are decreasing. But then we had more customers in the 8th month. So it's interesting because of these 203 customers, some of them could have been in the 7th month also. Maybe it's the first time they come back. Maybe they came back in the 5th month. We don't know. Those are separate events, and that's interesting to count. So it's a way to tell at each month, really, and you can look in diagonal. So we're in March 2021, now that I'm recording this video. So if you look at the number of customers who made a purchase, you can attribute them by just looking at this last line and how many each cohort contributed to the purchases in March. So that's one way to look at it. And then you can look at the segmentation as usual. So if we look at maybe province in the demo data, there are not too many segments, but in your account, there are a lot more, such as attribution channel, for example. So let's take a look at this one, Ontario specifically. Now we can see if for that province, we have a different pattern than for overall. And then if we switch over to California, there will be a different number of customers each time. And maybe a different pattern. It's not easy, so we're going to compare. So we're going to switch to single cohort and look maybe at that June 2020 cohort I was mentioning. Okay, it's 10 months ago, so we have 10 columns, and these are the top states or province. We group them together, and now we can see how many customers came from each. So Ontario, California were the big ones, Florida next. But now we can see that there are maybe quite a lot of people from California that came back compared to other states, to Florida, sorry. So what's interesting is to switch back to the relative numbers and to see if actually MS Illinois was much bigger. So now you can see what percentage. And that percentage is from 0 to 100% every single month, right? It's not cumulative. If you perform well in 1 month, doesn't mean you're going to perform well in the next one, and vice versa. So it really depends on what campaign you launch. So one way to think about this is if you're doing email marketing, re-engagement campaigns, etc., or drip campaigns, you will be able to measure specifically by, we have this Klaviyo integration that will allow you to look at campaigns to see how many customers came back after one, for example. And another one is just looking over time and seeing if you have a drip campaign and you look at people who receive the drip campaign, you can see whether they're receiving or they're coming back more after sending it. So here, if the example was you always send an email in the second month, then clearly it would indicate that it's working. But we're not sending emails to this demo account, so it could simply be that people are needing your product again a month later or a recharge of the product, and that's why they buy. That's how it works. So I hope this is helpful. If you have more questions, don't hesitate to ask. Ping us on Intercom right here in the chat, or send us an email, or just book a call with us, and we'd be happy to go over this. Thanks.